Good morning, everybody. We're going to call the meeting to order, and if you would please rise and join with us to Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll accept public comment for items not appearing on today's agenda. Will there be any public comment at this time? Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll move to our meeting minutes for Tuesday, February 11th, 2020. Would there be a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve the Tuesday, February 11th meeting minutes.
I will second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries and minutes are approved. We're going to start with our first proclamation of this year, 2020, and we're going to welcome up some key folks here in our community, and we are excited to have folks from South Hills and CPI. So we have representatives from both, and we have a few chairs, so we'll ask them to come up and organize themselves however they see fit. But from South Hills, we're going to welcome up Paul Mazza, President, Jeff Stokowski, Director of Outreach, and we have two students, Nick and Arlene. Welcome them up. So we have Nick and Arlene. Yeah, super. And then from CPI, we have Mary Ann Volders, Vice President of Secondary Education, and we have Haley and Sean as well. So, yeah.
Actually, four of them.
We've got four. Oh, four, super.
Wow.
Yeah. Three. Okay, three. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, please join us. Yeah.
Yeah, come on over.
You can have photos? Okay. Sounds good.
I'm in charge of things today. Even if,
We actually had a small change. We have
Oh.
Josh with us today because Bellefonte
Joshua.
went to school today.
Oh, super. Okay.
Just changed.
Okay. So the proclamation we have before us is the first one of the year, and February of every year is Career and Technical Education Month in Center County. And we'd love to hear a little bit about what's going on from both CPI and South Hills perspective. So we'll invite you both to talk a little bit about what's going on, and then we'd love to hear from each student, just a little bit about what you're studying. Nothing big, not a long speech, but just talk a little bit about what's going on. So please.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for celebrating this month, even though it's 1 month out of the year, that's something that CPI and South Hills likes to think about every day of the year. It's an important opportunity for us to share with the communities that we serve that, career and technical education is key to the success of our employers and the success of our communities. So I'd like to ask our students just briefly to share a little bit of their backstory and what they've found as an opportunity for success in their travels through South Hills. So I'll start with Arlene Paghetti. Arlene is a first-year IT student of ours, also a former graduate of ours as well in our business administration, management, and marketing. So Arlene?
Yeah, originally I went to BAM when I was younger, and gave me a good foundation. I ended up being a hairstylist for 15 years and managed a few salons, so enjoyed that career. Came harder on my body, so I always wanted to do the technical fields, IT, so that's what I'm going back to now, doing the networking side of IT, so I'm excited.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. And next up is Nick Loudenslager, and Nick is, did I
Oh, close enough.
all right.
Hi, Nick.
How you doing?
Nick is a second-year criminal justice student of ours. He'll be going out on his internship this spring, and Nick is also a Marine veteran. So, Nick.
Morning, guys. So after I got out of the Marine Corps, I extended a few months. I never planned on going to college. Didn't plan on doing any of that stuff. I just thought, just Marine Corps is what I was going to do. But I had a daughter, and so I was looking at colleges and stuff like that, and I looked up South Hills, and it was close to home and stuff like that. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I like helping people. So I decided to go the criminal justice field route, and it's led me in the right direction. It's I look forward to a rewarding career in whatever I do, and I start at Benner next month, and I'm looking forward to it.
Go.
So,
So you're going to corrections, huh?
yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that's what I want to do. If not, then I'll move around and
Test drive it.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for your service.
You
I
don't,
loved
we have plenty of positions at Center County government that require criminal justice degrees.
Welcome.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
All right, if I'll start, again, thanks to the Board of Commissioners for having us today. I'll start by saying our enrollment at CPI is up in both the post-secondary and high school side of things, and I think that's a direct result of everybody knowing what we know every day and how important the skilled labor force is. So we see students and parents finally coming on board and understanding career and technical education is important. So we're very fortunate that, enrollment is increasing. I do want to say we're actually adding programs at CPI, not eliminating them like a lot of places are. We're adding cybersecurity next year, and our they're currently working on occupational therapy and physical therapy assistance. So we're going in the right direction. We have 3 students with us, 2 high school students and an adult student. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you who they are, where they're from, and why they're with us. Haley, you get to go first. Oh, yeah, you get to go first.
Morning, Haley. Morning. Morning.
I'm Haley Watson. I go to Bald Eagle, and I'm in 10th grade. I go to CPI for medical science, and so far it's been probably one of the best experiences. I have learned so much. Right now it's only my first year, and I'm only halfway through it, and I know every bone and almost every muscle of the body. So it can be hard sometimes, but it's very rewarding.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
My name is Josh Cheney. I go to Penns Valley Area School District. I'm in 11th grade. I do diesel technology. I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. I've made a lot of new friends. I've learned a lot of things that I thought I knew, but I didn't. So I was like, wow, that's pretty good. I could name all the engine components and a lot more. I don't want to confuse anybody. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's fun. I know I have a bright future ahead of me because of what I'm doing, so I like it.
I'm Savannah Green. I'm an adult student in our cosmetology program. So I actually started out, I did a semester in traditional college, and I'm a very hands-on learner, so I felt like I was getting behind, I was slowing down, and I couldn't keep up because I didn't get that hands-on opportunity. So coming to CPI was a really good choice for me because I'm learning in a way I understand, at a pace I understand, and I'm getting a lot more opportunities that I wouldn't have had going to traditional college. And CPI is really individualized to what you need and how you want to learn. So I think that's really good, and I'm really glad I joined CPI.
Very strong spokesman.
Yes.
I think one of the things that we really try to do, and we really want to thank you for being leaders and taking the time to be here this morning, is because it allows other folks within our community to see themselves in your shoes. And it allows them to see the opportunity to reinvent themselves, to start a new path. And it really means a lot to take the time. And the folks that you work with every day at South Hills and CPI really care a lot about you and your futures. And we can tell that as a community. So really, again, thank you for your time and thank you for everything you do. And best of luck in all your futures. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We are blessed to have such
Yeah.
great programs here in Center County available to some of our young people, and maybe not so young people,
Sure.
re-entering the workforce.
Sure.
That's great.
Sure.
Yeah, we're so pleased to have South Hills and CPI here in the county. Every single year, we need thousands of new, young and not so young people to enter these positions. We've seen a broad gamut of different opportunities here this morning. Many of these jobs pay well or even very well, and it's a 1 or a 2 year degree. So a fraction of the time you would spend at a traditional 4 or even 5-year college. Did also want to mention that Center County government does have our emergency responder scholarships, 6 scholarships of $2,500 each to either South Hills or CPI for anyone who is an active volunteer at any of our emergency responders, the fire, police, EMS throughout the county. And you don't even have to be a current volunteer, just volunteer as soon as you can, and we'll put you up for a scholarship.
And the combined experience, we should mention this, between CPI and South Hills, for the first time ever, has eclipsed 100 years. You now both combined celebrate 101 years together, 50 years and 51 years. So we're not going to point out who was first, probably was just a few months. But anyway, again, we have 2 proclamations for each of the entities to take back. And so with that, we'd like to officially designate we'll actually allow Commissioner Higgins to make a motion if you wanted to.
All right. I'll make the enthusiastic motion to adopt proclamation number 1 of 2020, proclaiming February 2020 as Career and Technical Education Month in Center County.
That was second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, great. It probably will be easier if we come to you. So if you wanted to all stay seated
That's a
and
good idea.
and come up, we'd love to have Gary, Jeff, if you wanted to. And Natalie could actually take some photos and we can email them to you if you wanted to do that. If that's okay?
She takes great
Yeah,
photos.
okay. Thank you again for being here. Appreciate
Oh, no, absolutely.
Thank you. Well, keep our cyber security.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks.
To your mom.
Hey, pleasure. Thank you. Indeed. Jump in here. Huh?
Oh, yeah, I think if you actually wanted to,
Sit down.
yeah, you might have to take your seat.
Yeah, you might have to sit.
And then Paul, if you wanted to, would you be willing to?
Back and seat.
Yeah, sorry.
Would it be better if Nick came up maybe here? Yeah.
Okay,
Try to
that
squeeze it. Squeeze a little tighter, Nick.
Gotcha.
Get it all in there.
We'll get it sooner or later.
Oh, yeah.
Got it.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Good to see you. Hard work.
Good to see you. You're welcome.
Hey, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Mary Ann, talk to you soon. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Absolutely. Good to see you.
Here, how you doing?
Absolutely. Okay, so following that up, we have an exciting and important announcement for our Hometown Heroes Committee, and we're excited to have several folks. We see Brian Query. We also have Scott Rote, I believe, David, Paul, and some other guests as well. So we'll let Brian introduce the VIPs that we have as well.
I need the.
So I'm really just a secondary person. I guess I'm a recipient here for this, to be standing in for the Veterans Assistance Fund. But really, with the Hometown Hero and the Banner Committee and everything, the key person here for the last couple of years has been Deb. So I'm going to just turn it over to Deb, and she has some things she wants to talk about.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank the commissioners for allowing us to come and make the presentations that we have. The members of the Hometown Hero Banner Committee that are present are Sally Hauser, Cindy Coons, and of course Brian. And those that are unable to attend are Renee Brown, who did instigate and actually start the program, Romaine Naylor, Patty Hillard, Connie Davis, Tony Paterino, and Laura Nastis. We're very proud of the third round of dedications that we did to our veterans on the last Veterans Day. Bellefonte was able to honor a total of 222 veterans on 195 banners within our downtown. We as a community should be very pleased and proud that we hold our veterans within our hearts and we thank them for their service and their sacrifice to keep us free and safe. Having said that, the committee is pleased to present the Veterans Assistance Fund with a check for $3,500, and accepting the check will be Brian for the Veterans Assistance Fund.
Wow.
The committee is also very proud to announce a new endeavor that begins this year to honor another group of heroes, our first responders. This is a group of individuals that on many occasions put themselves in harm's way to help us. They have not served in the military but deserve our respect and to be honored. This September 12th, the Hometown Hero Banner Committee is proud to partner with the Logan Fire Company on their 150th year celebration on dedicating our first round of first responder banners. These banners will have their own dedicated space on Bellefonte waterfront area. The application for these banners will be online starting next week at Historic Bellefonte Incorporated or Bellefonte Borough's website, or you can pick them up at the train station in Bellefonte. Having said all that, the committee would like to make a $3,500 donation to each of the following groups for their sacrifice and service to keep us safe. Accepting the check for the Logans is Paul Klein.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Accepting for the Undines is David Flory.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Accepting for the Bellefonte EMS is Scott Rote.
Make me laugh.
Thank you very,
Okay.
very much. We are pleased and humbled to be able to present a total amount of $14,000 to these deserving hero groups because of the community support to the Hometown Hero Banner Project. Thank you.
Deb, thank you. This is so special, so thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
honored to have you here doing this today, so really appreciate it. So, thank you. Any questions from the press for any of them? Okay. Thank you all once again.
Thank
for
you.
all you do. Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. It's their, I think it's their, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Cindy.
Some chairs have opened up in the main, if folks wanted to, yeah, please. Okay, we're going to move into our letters of support. We're honored to have Marion Sorensen, the Executive Director of the Center County Historical Society. We also have Al Popovich, it looks like, as well. And Al's going to join us as well, and we're going to talk about a letter of support that we're interested in approving for their grant application.
Morning.
Good morning, both of you.
Hi, Al.
Good morning.
How's everybody?
Great.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I would just like to say thank you for considering our request for a letter for support. I'm, as Commissioner Pipe mentioned, I'm Mary Sorensen, the Executive Director of the Center County Historical Society. Alan Popovich is on our Board of Governors, and he is also the restoration architect for the grant that we'll be writing. We're applying for a grant to replace the cedar shingle roof on the Center Furnace Mansion. The mansion really is an important local county and community historical site. It's on the National Register of Historic Places, and it also represents the 18th century beginnings of the iron industry here in Center County, and also the 19th century beginnings of Penn State. So we're very excited to be applying for a grant to do some restoration work on the mansion. The grant will also include restoration on the mansion's porches, and so we're looking forward to this. The grant is for $85,000, and so this is a matching grant, and we'll be doing some fundraising. We've already received a lead gift of $25,000 and are planning a fundraising campaign to acquire the rest, and so we'll start working on that. The grant app is due on March 2nd, and we'll find out in September whether we are accepted or not. And so, yeah. If you have any technical questions about the grant at all, Alan could definitely speak to that more than I could, but.
How long do cedar shingles last?
30 to 50 years, depending on how they're installed. Yeah, so.
You don't see them very often anymore.
Well, and I will say, we did look at alternative material, but when it came full cycle, particularly with the nature of history, we know that historic preservation tends to go up and down. It tends to be in a little bit, it tends to lose a little bit of favor. In fact, a lot of our younger people today, we kid around all the time that their idea of history is basically mid-century modern. So there's a little difference in terms of value that goes, but we're confident with the places Mary had indicated, the birthplace of Penn State, the iron industry here, it'll be around, and we want to make sure it is around to tell that story. So all renovations will be done in accordance with Secretary of Interior standards, quite exactly and similar to your soldier and sailors monument that were done in terms of those aspects. And we're looking forward to your letter of support, because the PHMC does really like to see that these are community-based projects. And again, like the memorial and like this beginning of the Senator Fergus Mansion, it's worthy of having it stay around. So.
Nice.
We've had success in this community of getting and receiving these, and we know that many groups have been successful, so we hope that yours is as well. So any feedback, comments we'd like to give to Mayor Al? Okay.
I just passed the mansion at least a minimum of twice a day, and it looks fabulous, and let's keep it looking that way.
Okay. Good work. So with no further discussion, would there be a motion?
Motion to approve the letter of support for Center County Historical Society.
I will second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on these? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Any questions for Mary or Al?
Just a quick question. In this day and age, do you still find there's a lot of interest in historical preservation?
Well, that's what I kind of alluded to. There is still an interest, and certainly that does continue, but it's really in the eye of the beholder in a lot of ways in terms of what that means. And I think what we're really seeing is a shift from pure historic preservation as kind of an artifact to preservation as recognizing it's a continuum of our cultural aspects and our cultural preservation. So, and that's, again, similar. I'll use the example of the memorials, that the key to that project is really the conservation plan to move forward so that this does stay. It's maintainable. You eat an elephant, if I can say, one bite at a time, not let these things go, and they'll be around for generations. And like I was saying, I'm confident that this swing will come back where preservation is much more meaningful. But it's a different culture right now, different time. And we're seeing the result of that, and it is cyclical.
Senator Fergus Mansion, as we see it today, how close is it to the structure that was originally built there? Is it still fairly?
As it stands right now, I would say it's not terribly close to the way it was, because if you look at it, it was underneath. It was just nothing more than a very simple I-house that existed, Center Hall Colonial. Very, what we refer to as folk architecture, but over its years, as it developed and as it became the center of Penn State, the founding area, and as it continued to evolve, that's where it's really gained its significance. So it in itself, it's a byproduct of the iron industry of Penn State, of education, Penn State. So it does represent, it's a symbol of development and growth here in Center County.
And Gary, if I could speak to that a little bit too, I do want to point out too that through organizations like Preservation Pennsylvania, PHMC, PA Museums, these sorts of organizations, historic preservation really is gaining a new day in the sun, I believe, and young people are really stepping up to understand the significance of these sites. I also want to just mention that the Center Furnace Mansion is open to the public throughout the year, and we receive over 5,000 visitors a year, many of them elementary age students, both at the mansion and the one-room school, and so I think that we're out there and people do know about us, and we're hoping that we'll continue and expand.
Where do we leave this? We have not yet made a motion. We want to make sure we...
No. Sure, I made the motion. Right?
Did we
Yeah, I
approve
made the
it?
motion.
We didn't approve it. Okay. All right. Any further discussion on this? We want to make sure you get your letter.
Yeah.
Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? There's none. Motion carries. Thank you both very much.
Thank you very much to
Thank you.
everybody.
Keep up the good work, really.
Moving into our contracts, we'll welcome up Jake to discuss 2 change orders for the projects happening at our courthouse. Good morning, Jake.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Howdy.
I've got 2 change orders, a little bit of background. Center County's currently involved with renovations to the courthouse. We awarded 3 contracts for that work. There's a general construction contract, one for plumbing, and then one for electrical. These 2 change orders involve the plumbing contract. We approved the contract initially for $422,633. Change order 1 involves a reduction of $1,795 due to the fact that we already had water coolers that was spec'd initially, so we swapped that out and they gave us a reduction. The second change order involves an increase of $11,095. This involves additional plumbing work, saw cutting on the second floor of the courthouse renovations. This is a not-to-exceed amount of $11,095. Based on some of the activities, we're thinking that it may come in less than that, but in essence, this change order, the second change order then would create a contract price of $431,933.
Okay. So in total, these 2 would be a swing of $8,300 in additional costs?
That's correct.
All right. Any questions, feedback for Jake on this?
No, there's just, anytime you tear open an old building, you're going to find things that you didn't know existed and problems that you didn't anticipate, so.
And that was the case here. You know, the as-bills were not as correct as they should have been, and we ran into these problems, so.
200-year-old building, so it's, things are going to occur.
Okay. Hearing no further questions, would there be a motion?
Motion to approve change order number 1 and 2 with Joseph C. Hazel.
We'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion before that? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay. Thank you. And then next contract, it looks like we have a lease agreement. Is that-
That's correct. This is a lease agreement with SC Joint Venture for Magisterial District Office 49-3-05, located on 121 South Pew Street. This lease agreement is for $5,960 a month. That price hasn't changed since late last year. That rent will continue until August 31st of this year. The biggest changes were essentially the structure of the lease, how it was modified slightly to the way they calculated the monthly rent. But the biggest change was that our previous lease involved the county doing all the maintenance for that office space. The current lease will require the landlord to do all the maintenance. So from our perspective, this is a good change. And the lease extends to August 31st of 2023 with an additional option after that.
And then just for the record, the option, the additional years would be, is it 1 year at a time? Is it 2? What was it?
Up to 3 years.
I know that we had a lot of legal review of this because it was going from a contract we had for quite some time to bidding this out. And then, so legal review has occurred in terms of that. We're going to move it to consent, but just wanted to.
It needs to be moved to consent, yes, but legal
Okay.
review has occurred.
Has occurred. Okay, great. Okay. Any other questions, comments on this? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to add the lease agreement with SC Joint Venture to next week's consent agenda.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, thank you, Jake. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right, we're excited to have Chris Schnurr here to talk a little bit about a MOU for final subdivision plan, and we have a PowerPoint as well. So, thank you, Chris. Good morning.
Thank you, and good morning. We have a memorandum of understanding, just one for this week, and just as a reminder, what a memorandum of understanding is in terms of the planning office. It's a three-party agreement between the developer, township, and the county, whereby the developer agrees to reimburse the township for the costs associated with the township engineers processing, reviewing, inspecting, and approving the engineering details of the plans. And the memorandum of understanding is for Deer Haven subdivision, which is in Walker Township. And if you direct your attention to the screen, where we are in Walker Township is this is State Route 64, and that's the Y at Zion. If you're heading east, you're going to head toward Lamar, and west, you're going to head toward Bellefonte, Pleasant Gap in that direction. The Walker Township Park and Municipal Building is just off the screen at that location, right along Zion Back Road. And what you see in blue is pretty much the remainder of the area owned by the developer, which is First Line Development 2. It's a S&A Homes Development. And what's going to happen is Phase 3A is going to be brought before the County Planning Commission at their March's agenda, and the approximate location of Phase 3A is just east of Archer's Glen Road. And just to give a perspective of the overall Deer Haven subdivision, what you see outlined in green are the existing phases, and the existing lots total 41 approved lots. Phase 3A is for 10 lots, and the overall development has 143 residential lots with stormwater facilities located along the eastern part and the southwestern part. And so that's the explanation of the memorandum of understanding for the Deer Haven subdivision. Oh, I forgot one additional slide. This is the slide that shows the 10 lots. It's fairly simple. They're going to extend Archer's Glen Road and build it to public standard and offer for dedication, just like they're going to do with a portion of 10 Point Path as well. So the lots highlighted in red are the proposed 10 residential lots with a proposed fire hydrant located right above the temporary cul-de-sac.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank
And
you.
in terms of timeline, in terms of the development of that, is there any timeline or?
They do have a timeline. They submit a schedule of development for plans that are phased like that, and it can go anywhere from 10 to 15 years projected outward, and they adjust that yearly depending on the economy. Sometimes it's more aggressive, so they're going to submit quicker. Other times it's a little bit more conservative, and they'll extend it out further period of time. This one, I think it does go out maybe 10 years or so. I forget the exact date because they changed it, because this plan originally came in right toward the tail end of the housing bust. And so they had to adjust their timeline for overall development.
Thanks, Chris. Any other comments, questions?
Liked out there, good-looking country, and I was just out that way last night for an event with the Penn State Extension Master Gardeners. So, know the area well. So, can I do a motion?
Sure, please.
Motion to add the memorandum of understanding for the final subdivision plan for Deer Haven to next week's consent agenda.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
We're going to welcome up Ray to talk a little bit about approval of a grant through DEP.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, Ray. Hello.
This is a $100,000 grant through DEP. Both the EPA and DEP are working in concert to reduce different types of pollution reduction, specifically phosphorus and nitrogen. And we are part of the Tier 2 counties within this program of the Watershed Implementation Plan. The first set of counties in the Tier 1 have already gone through this process without the benefit of having funding, and now they are finally getting into that phase of funding with their implementation portion of that. What we'll be doing is, in short term, convening a Watershed Implementation Plan team that would be developing and implementing the plan process. We'd do an overview of the reduction targets for Center County, and we'd be engaged in reviewing and making recommendations to the plan. So some of the important folks that would be involved with the team would be landowners, farmers, watershed organizations, and also our MS4 partner communities within Center County. We'll define priority watershed areas for implementation within the county and where the highest reduction nutrients can be achieved throughout the county. So that's basically where we start with this grant.
In terms of some of the products or some of the work that's going to be done by the consultant, I mean, have we identified yet if it's going to be staff, consultant, who's going to be doing this?
I believe the recommendation was to go with a consultant, and probably more favorably with a consultant that's working with some of the Tier 1 counties, that have already gone through this process, since they would know and have some familiarity with the program. So we're looking at discussing that with a few folks that have achieved that experience.
And then we do have this for 3 years, 3+ years, but do we think it's going to take, we're going to have something at the end of that, or is that just, that's how long the grant is available for?
That's how long the grant's available. I think what DEP would like us to move forward with is getting a plan done within the next several months, probably the next 6 to 8 months, which is aggressive, probably more like, I would say, 12 months.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Any questions? For Ray? Okay. All right. We would then look for a motion for this item.
Motion to approve the Chesapeake Bay Countywide Action Plan Implementation Grant through DEP.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any final discussion, questions on this?
None.
Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you, Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Would be a motion to approve our consent agenda for today.
Motion to approve today's consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, Margaret, Administrator's report for today. Okay. All right, Commissioner Higgins, we would turn it over to you for a check run.
Sure, a slightly smaller than average check run of $1,100,082.23. There's a number of checks in here for persons who are taking care of adoptive children or who are working with a broad variety of other county services to assist children throughout the area, foster children, et cetera. I will be attending the Orphan Care Alliance dinner tonight at the Penn Stater. That is a great group. They provide volunteers and financial support for people who are adopting or taking on the challenge of foster children. Just wanted to highlight that every couple of months. Again, want to thank everybody who has given a child a forever home here in Center County. I will make the motion to approve the check run dated February 14th.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on the check run? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks.
We'll turn over to Commissioner Dershowitz.
Okay, we have a voter registration report that includes 109,176 registered voters in Center County. That's up 16 from last week's report. There are 45,991 Democratic voters, 154 Green Party, 669 Libertarian, 14,638 no affiliation, and 42,926 Republican voters, which leads all others at 4,798 registrants. Of the 4,798, I have alphabetically picked the American Heritage Party to highlight this week. The American Heritage voter, one of them, is number actually on the list of parties. He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are the fifth in line. So there's a lot of American parties coming up. So there you go.
Okay.
We also, before I forget, I would like to highlight our precinct of the week, which is Miles West, number 63, which votes at the Madisonburg Civic Center. In the last election, there were 195 registrants and 93 ballots cast, which is a voter percentage turnout of 47.69%, which is not too bad. We're knocking on 50% there. And the folks that make it happen in precinct number 63, the judge of elections is Susan Long, minority inspector Stacy Garbrick, majority inspector Darla Boob, and the clerks are Ruth Harder and Mary Ann Krieger. And again, we want to thank the Civic Center for allowing us to use their facility, and we'll be seeing them soon.
And great soup there.
Yes,
Very
there you
good.
go.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any announcements, other announcements we have? Other announcements? Okay, all right. Any executive sessions? for
Yes,
public?
the Board of Commissioners met in an executive session on Thursday, February 13th, from 10:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. to discuss a personnel matter.
Thank you, Margaret. Any questions for us before we look to adjourn?
From last week, do you know if cell phone service has been fully restored in that area near Julian? Has you got anything else from County 911?
There was one remaining block that still did not have cell coverage. 911 is following up on that. So that's the last piece of it, but everyone else was restored in that valley.
We found that there was work being done by the company, is that correct?
So this was an AT&T issue, and our 911 call center was able to escalate that issue to make sure that they were aware, and they followed up and did some additional work, and power was, the cell coverage was restored.
So they said there was weeks out there. I'm just wondering, is the county notified at all? Is the 911 center notified at all when their cell service is dropped, or that's just between the customer and the provider?
Correct.
We rely on citizens, such as the individual from last week who elevated that to some of our media outlets. So their argument would be that if there's landline service there, they're meeting their obligations for emergency coverage. But not all communities have both cell and landline. More and more people are moving just to cell. So if that occurs, there is a challenge. Now, there is a way to, even if you don't have data, you can still circumvent it somehow to get an emergency call out. But we don't want to rely on that. That's a more elevated way of doing it. So, but we are monitoring it still. Okay. Seeing no further questions, we look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 10:42.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 You're adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.